There we go.
This should be in here.
No, I don't.
Like, can it just be like right
Yeah, that I think would be good.
Okay. That
I
way-
thought it was still lit. Thank you for mentioning that.
Testing.
I thought we were going to sing now. Like right now. Before family. Yeah. To bring people in. Wait, we're going to hear Shadona sing. Yes. So we would hear and sing with her. Does that work? Okay. Okay.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go.
to sing. Don't touch the mic. Eat that one, don't touch that one. Okay. We're going to sing a song that many of you are very familiar with by a different name. We learned it many years ago as Standing on the Side of Love. And then the awareness of the ableism, just in that statement, was made aware to us by many of our disabled UUs. And there are many of them that are music leaders that I met in Denver about 7 years ago. So, how do you change that? Because it's so much in our language. Well, it got changed. And it's answering the call of love. I love it. Answering the call of love. So, rise as you are willing and able, and we shall sing. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide. And so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Even better, isn't it? Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Good morning, and welcome to UUFT. We are so glad you're here, and we hope you find your experience meaningful. We issue a special welcome to newcomers and visitors. If you want to learn more about our faith, we are happy to tell you about our values and principles. At the most basic level, though, we strive to live humane and caring lives, and we embrace diversity. We embrace the diversity of your beliefs and of your race, age, class, disability, gender identity, whom you love, and family structure, just to name a few. This morning, we're going to embrace the diversity of disability. And you'll notice that behind me is what is a disability pride flag. And each of the slides are going to have a color from that flag. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see what type of disability that color represents. So whether you're interested in talking about disability, diversity, UUFT, or life in general, please come up to us after the service and let us welcome you in person and answer any questions that you may have. Now it's time for the announcements. Please turn off your phones and electronic devices so you don't disturb anybody during the service. Also know that this is being streamed on YouTube and electrically stored on YouTube channel. And finally, if you want to learn more about what's going on at UUFT, on the back of your bulletin, which you may have gotten on the way in, is the next 2 weeks of events at UUFT. There are also bulletin boards outside the hall. And finally, you can also go to uuft.org and you can find a wealth of information. And now, Aaron Forstein has an announcement for us.
OWL will not happen today. One of our facilitators is going to be out of town, so we will reschedule for another date. Thank you.
Dennis Bosley, I have an announcement. The internationally acclaimed movie Garden City, 78 minutes, will become available Tuesday, October the 10th on Apple TV. I urge you to watch it if you get a chance.
I'll go ahead and let Cynthia do her announcement, and then the rest of the announcements we're going to do after we get the kids off to their group.
Thank you. Cynthia Maxwell here. I have the sign-up sheet for Haunted House. We are working to put it onto Breeze, but we're trying to get the kinks out before we send it out to you. So we're going to go hard copy this time until and unless. And go ahead and sign up for Breeze so that we can get those kinks out as soon as possible. And I guess Tech Clinic will be next week at 11, right? Where we'll talk next Saturday. Yes.
You want to be clear, it's on Saturday.
Okay, the 14th at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And now we welcome Farai, Harold, and Tundi Green to light the chalice to a verse by Reverend Dr. David Breeden entitled, Welcome All.
Welcome all to this place of love and justice, this place where we attempt to live up to humanity's highest ideals, highest hopes. Do we fail? Yes, we do, often. Do we try again? Yes, we do, always. Welcome all to this place of love and justice, to this gathering where the sacred and the holy are our being together.
Thank you so much. And now, Erin Forstein, Director of Religious Exploration, is going to share her story for all ages.
You can say good morning really quick.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning again. Our story for all ages today is It's Okay to Be Different by Todd Parr.
There's a future minister.
There is. Public speaker, definitely. It's okay to be missing a tooth, or two, or three. Does anybody miss a tooth right now? You're missing a tooth? You're missing a tooth? It's okay to need some help. It is. Oh, And it's okay to have a different nose. Do you all have the same noses? Do we all have the same noses? It's okay to be a different color. And it's okay to have no hair. It's okay to have big ears. I am very glad that you can hear and that you have ears. And it's okay to have wheels. It's okay to be small, medium, large, and extra large. Oh, like that. And are you medium? Okay. It's okay to wear glasses. And it's okay to talk about your feelings. I am happy that you are happy. This is an important one. It's okay to eat macaroni and cheese in the bathtub. It's okay to say no to bad things, too. This is my favorite page. And that's okay. It's okay to come from a different place. It's okay to be embarrassed. It's okay to come in last. Is that okay? Yeah? It's okay. And it's okay to dance by yourself. I like to dance too. It's okay to have a pet worm. Okay. And it's okay to be proud of yourself. I like drumming too, Bert. It's okay to have different moms, and it's okay to have different dads. Thank you. Okay. It's okay to be adopted. It's okay to have an invisible friend. Does anybody have an invisible friend? You do. You do. Well, Micah does. Okay, good. It's okay to do something nice for someone. It's okay to lose your mittens. Well, actually, the next page says it's okay to get mad. You get mad sometimes? Yes, that is a hard thing. It's okay to do something nice for yourself, but that is a lot of ice cream. Would that be nice for our tummies if we ate that much ice cream? Yes, Micah? No. Maybe we could share all that ice cream. That would be fun. It's okay to help a squirrel collect nuts. Yes, that sounds fun. It's okay to have different kinds of friends. Good. It's okay to make a wish. You like food? Okay, me too. It's okay to be different. You are special and important just because of being who you are. Love. Now, Tawny has a big day today. She helped light the cellos, and she's going to carry out our lantern. So let's sing the kiddos out. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Now it is time to hear your joys and concerns, whether they have to do with UUFT or with something outside of UUFT in your life. This is also the time to get to those announcements that we didn't have time for earlier. So please come up to the microphone, introduce yourself, and speak as clearly and as closely to the microphone as you can. You might feel like you're eating the microphone, but sometimes that's the only way we're able to hear you. So please, joys and concerns, line up over here.
Hi, Carrie Peoples, and once again, it's the month of suicide prevention, and our walk is on the 21st at Garfield Park. Register is free. Come join and support each other. That's what our mental health is here for, to help each other out. So we'd love to see you, and register, like I said, is free. If you have any questions, I'm going to put up a flyer, and you can definitely contact me or pull me aside and ask. Thank you.
I'm Vicki George and
Jana Cook.
And we have two members that joined, two people that joined about 3 weeks ago. And Mackenzie, you stand up, and you have to practice her name. Hedgedusic. And she has written it for me in phonetics, so you can get it really good. So welcome, Mackenzie.
And Christopher Landwehr. Yeah, there he comes. Oh, hey, Christopher. We're just announcing the new members, Christopher, so welcome.
Father, those two adorable little kids over there that was, and of course you saw the dad picking up all the crayons. That's the dad job right there. Yes, right. Yes, pick up the crayons. Woo! And then of course we've got sign up Outlaw Entryway for fourth Sunday. It used to be second Sunday, now it's Go Forth on the 4th. And we have an iPad out there and a laptop, so you don't want me hunting you down, do you? No. Oh, Janine says yes. Okay, sign up.
My name is Deborah Scanlon. All of you. And this is our senior. She used to come and pick up children and to the Gentleman Boat Show. And I will be here, and I hope you all can. I will be here for you to pick up a ticket which is lost everything. So, my next one, if you all came to us, this is all you would need. If that's you can. And that's yes. But hopefully I will see all of you before.
me again, David Schaefer. Now here's a quiz. How many of you saw the email from me that came yesterday to each and every one of you? How many of you read it? Good. Well, on those who got it, I'm pretty much at 100% reading, but it explains why, in great detail, you should create your login to Breeze. If you cannot figure it out, please come to the Tech Day next Saturday. We are anxious, and if you don't have a computer or you just don't want to do it, come to Tech Day anyway. We'll correct your record, but you need to be there to tell us what to put in it, okay, like your birthday and stuff. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, I just wanted to mention that Tech Day on Saturday is not just for member-related things. Bring your computer if you have an issue. We're here to help our friends and family here.
Hi, Micah Forstein. I am, because we're doing a service on Disabled Divine, I thought it would be worthwhile to tell you that in part of the security upgrade, we are investigating and hope to put in handicap access on the doors. So I just thought I'd let you know.
Hi, I'm Walt Racker. I have a couple things to mention. Today is Shelby Fehrenbacher's birthday. I'm not sure which one. A gentleman always remembers the day, but not the year. So I'm sure she'd appreciate a call or a visit. Next Friday the 13th, is the memorial service for Stuart and Anna Yoho's daughter, Emily. It's going to be at Brennan Mathena on 6th, I believe, at 2 o'clock. I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. And the following day, Saturday the 14th, is Lux Lucero's birthday. You may remember him as A.J. Lucero Ford. If you need his address, I'd be happy to give it to you. I'm sure he'd appreciate cards. Thank you.
Today, in honor of joys and concerns, we'd like to send out our compassion through a practice of chanting Kwan Seum Bosal. I'm inviting Dennis Bosley up to lead us in this practice as it's one of his traditions. And we'll hear a little bit about who Kwan Seum Bosal is, and then join him in chanting this to send out our care to ourselves and the world.
One of the hallmarks of Mahayana Buddhism is a bodhisattva ideal. A bodhisattva is one who dedicates their existence to helping others. One of the most prominent bodhisattvas in our Zen tradition is Kwan Seum Bosal, whose name literally means perceived world sound, which is also translated as one who hears the cries of suffering. She is also frequently pictured with a willow branch, which represents her willingness to sprinkle sweet dew on the afflicted, symbolizing her role as a healer. She sometimes assumes a thousand-eyed, thousand-armed form. Each palm contains an eye so that the bodhisattva can better see how to help those in distress. The quality that is being represented by Kwan Seum Bosal is the compassionate wisdom which is within each of us. If you want to find the true Kwan Seum Bosal, look inside. For the next few minutes, we will chant Kwan Seum Bosal. Kwan Seum Bosal, Kwan Seum Bosal.
Bosal, Kwan Seum 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 Bosal.
And now Carolyn Peck and perhaps another friend will receive our offering for today by passing the baskets around.
Before we discuss honoring the disabled divine, I wanted us to discuss more about disability awareness and get us in the right mindset for where we're going. On the slide behind me is in a moment, will be the disability pride flag that I spoke of earlier. And it was meaningful to me, and I hope it's meaningful to you as well. And if you've been watching the slides as we've gone through the service, each slide is a color from the flag, with the bottom right-hand corner saying what that slide color represents. Anne McGill, a writer with cerebral palsy, is the one who created this slide. But this slide was not, or created this flag, but this flag was not her first attempt. She originally created one with bold colors and zigzagging stripes, with the zigzags to represent the fact that when you navigate the disability system, you often run into a wall and have to turn and try again, and run into another wall and have to turn and try again. Unfortunately, the zigzags and the bold colors were difficult for people with seizures, migraines, and sensory disabilities when they viewed them on electronic media. So she dulled the colors, muted the colors, and made the lines straight, teaching all of us a good example that we should make accommodations for people with disabilities. Her final draft was finished in 2021, and she put it in the public domain so that you and I could use it today. The black or charcoal background stands for people with disabilities who have been victimized by ableism or who have been lost due to disability-fueled violence, negligence, abuse, or death, but it's not all negative. It's also the protest and the fight against the mistreatment of people with disabilities. But then those 5 colored stripes shoot through that darkness as if they're shooting through barriers. And we'll start at the top with the green stripe, which represents sensory disabilities, such as blindness, deafness, and other sensory disabilities. The blue stripe represents psychiatric disabilities, such as depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders. There are 2 purposes for the white stripe: to represent invisible disabilities and undiagnosed disabilities. The gold represents cognitive and intellectual disabilities and other neurodivergence. And finally, with the red, it introduces physical disabilities, which is what many of us think of when we think of disabilities. We often miss what we can't see with our eyes, and that's why I wanted us to think of all the range of disabilities and become aware of them so that we were in the right mindset. But since we've talked about disability awareness, what does that have to do with the divine? And that's where we're going to start now, when we invite David Schaefer up to do a reading entitled Intersectionality of Brilliance and Vibrancy. David.
Hello again. First, I'd like to give you an idea of how I got involved with the disabled community, and I've been very involved. Some of you may remember when our daughter Skylar ended up in KU Med Center for 2 months with Guillain-Barré. While we were there, the staff said, well, you know, she's going to need to go on disability. Okay, what did that mean? Subsequently, Skylar got on disability, and the process was pretty easy for her because of the documentation. But then we started getting letters and stuff from Social Security, and walking and wading through the documentation and the letters and trying to figure out what they're trying to say, I realized if I, as a college-educated person who's reasonably sane, you know, and yeah, all right, well, I said reasonably. People with disabilities might have a even harder time wading through this. And several years later, I started a company that helps disabled people get jobs and actually get off of disability. So I've been very involved for, I guess the last 15 years with the disabled community. I'm going to be talking about the Disability Justice Collective, the DJC, is a national collective centering the lives and leadership of disabled people of color, trans, queer, poverty class folks, and all brilliance from the margins. I'm going to be speaking in their voice. The DJC works to create genuine inclusion, accessibility, respect, and connection. As a collective, we prioritize leadership and direction from those of us who live in the cracks and at the margins of all our communities. Specifically disabled, queers and trans, people of color, and poverty class folks. What we believe. We celebrate the magnificence and validity of our imperfect bodies and minds. We are clear that our lived experience, skill sets, and resistance are vital parts of all social justice movements and communities. We believe accountability to each other and our communities is essential. We believe that disability justice builds upon the work of the disability rights movement and seeks to transform it in order to build our community's self and collective determinations, visibility, and vibrancy. We invest in interdependency to care for each other. We seek to increase disabled people's access to basic resources. We are working towards our community's liberation. What we do. We use political education, cultural work, collaboration, technical assistance, and training to end the alienation experienced by disabled people within disability rights and LGBTQI spaces, service provision, and social justice movements. We build the capacity of grassroots organizations and service providers to integrate disability justice politics into their values and anti-ableism into their practices. And here's a quote from them. When we speak of disability, we are celebrating the brilliance and vitality of our imperfect bodies and minds. We acknowledge diversity within our communities and the groups of people who are impacted by ableism in negative ways. The DJC welcomes people regardless of whether their disability or difference is invisible or visible, identified or perceived as the disability or not. This includes people who identify as disabled, deaf, critically ill, mad, and much, much more. A little closer to home, I wanted to mention an organization here in town that helps disabled people. It's called the Disability Rights Center of Kansas. And they're on 6th Avenue. And it is a bunch of lawyers who donate their time to fighting for individual disabled people who have been wronged or otherwise trod upon by society from a legal standpoint. I have their brochure. I have 4 of their brochures if anybody's interested in it. I've worked with them before, and they're an excellent organization. Thank you.
Having heard about all the different ways that people experience disability, such as those that affect vision, movement, thinking, communicating, how many people here would say they have a disability or know somebody who lives with a disability? As a UU community seeking to go where love goes, I want to go where people who are working with disabilities are going. And I also want to explore today how maybe because of ableism, we might have a disabled faith in the divine. So first, let's look at what disability all includes. According to the World Health Organization, disability has 3 dimensions. 1 is impairment in a person's body structure or function, or mental functioning, such as the loss of a limb or memory loss. 2 is activity limitation, such as difficulty hearing, walking, or problem solving. 3 is participation restrictions in daily activities, such as working or engaging in recreational activities. The social model of disability proposes that disability is produced by the way society is organized, rather than by a person's impairment. For example, who here wears glasses or contacts? So if it weren't for society's commitment to accessible eye care, like insurance or free eye clinics, you could be a person with a disability. Would you be able to drive, use your cell phone, or cook without those glasses or contacts? So these barriers were removed for you. When barriers are removed, people with disabilities can be independent and equal in society. What are the barriers? The main was attitudinal. Some people only see or over-focus on disability when associating with somebody with a disability. It can result in bullying, fear, or covert discrimination. There's also environmental barriers, like natural or built inaccessible environments, institutional barriers, which include laws, policies, practices, and strategies that discriminate, and other barriers, like low expectations that undermine others' confidence or aspirations, and lack of consultation of disabled people. Barriers make us all suffer. When people with disabilities are restricted due to social constructs, they miss out on participating, so it's most unfair to them, but everyone misses out when they're not there. And at some point, we will all miss out. I don't know if anybody here considers themselves temporarily able-bodied. Some of us have a period of our lives, either short or longer, when we're able to do most activities in society, but we won't always. Disability activists joined the civil rights movements in the 1960s to promote equal treatment, challenge stereotypes, and build a cross-disability focus. People with different kinds of disabilities and different needs came together to advocate for a shared goal. And per good old Wikipedia, this disability rights movement is now a global movement of organizations working together for accessibility and safety in architecture, transportation, equal opportunities in independent living, employment equity, education, housing, freedom from discrimination, from abuse, neglect, and from other rights violations. And activists are working to break institutional, physical, and societal barriers that prevent people with disabilities from living their lives like other citizens. Can you believe it wasn't until 1990 that the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, legally prohibiting discrimination and mandating access in all public areas? There's more. Disability justice is a social justice movement which focuses on examining disability and ableism as they relate to other forms of oppression and identity, such as race, class, and gender. It was developed in 2005 by the Disability Justice Collective that David read about, initially conceived of by the queer disabled women of color Patty Byrne, Mia Mingus, and Stacy Milburn, in reaction to their exclusion from the mainstream disability rights movement and ableism in activist spaces. The movement also believes that ableism makes other forms of prejudice possible and that systems of oppression are intertwined. So they celebrate the magnificence and validity of imperfect bodies and minds. As spiritual people, with the second principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and the third principle that encourages spiritual growth, I just have to ask, what is the intersection between ableism and the divine? You might think, well, I don't watch Netflix or TV or TikTok, and I'm not influenced by the ableist dominant culture. Or, I don't believe in God, so that doesn't apply to me. First, I might be happy if you're less influenced by mass media. Like if you've never seen a Disney movie as a child where all the good guys are able-bodied and the bad guys have so-called deformities, wow. Because in 22, the analysis by Gina Holcomb showed that, I quote, overwhelmingly disability portrayals were traditional, with disability used to elicit pity or humor from the viewer, to indicate that the characters were evil or old. Out of 20 films, few progressive portrayals of disability were observed. End quote. So if you've never seen Disney, but you still go outside sometimes, you see billboards, and you get advertised to. And advertisement is effective whether we like it or not. Research shows that even if we don't believe in what we're seeing and we know it's trying to persuade us, it still works to some degree. So how many of you grew up seeing images of an able-bodied God? Or did you hear stories about a divine, perfect, all-powerful being? If so, then this idea of an all-powerful divinity was implanted into us, usually with a supposed likeness to a perfect body and mind. And how we've been trained to think about God, or however you call the source of life, influences how we think about our human abilities and the disabledness of our bodies. So, you know how you can be an anti-racist and still suffer from subconscious racism due to the influence of mass media and cultural training? In the same way, we can try to be anti-ableist and still suffer from inherited ableism. Could you follow me on my learning journey? I'd like to start with a story about sexism because it's how I realized that power mongers push us into believing how we should look, behave, and be in a certain way. And that's how I discovered the roots of my internalized ableism. When I was a young child in the 1980s, I lived in a small, patriarchal Catholic farming town. The population was assigned in half. Male, female, boys, girls, guys, gals, in that order. Men were from Mars, women were from Venus. Fast forward to 2007. I'm 22 years old and studying racism, sexism, and ableism at the University of Kansas. By this time, I had learned that race was a construct that humans created to segregate people by their skin color. And that skin color was no more or less relevant to an individual's personality than the size of their elbow. I also understood that gender was a mental construct, that whether you presented as man or woman, both or neither, was your choice, not necessarily related to your anatomy, behaviors, or desires for how people treat you. But when we started studying sexism and how male and female are not two inherently different categories, my mind could not grasp it at first. In my brain, genitals seemed like a significant body difference that was more important than other physical distinctions. The reality is that each person has a different ratio of testosterone and estrogen hormones regardless of their physical structure. And 1% of the population is born intersex, meaning they have a combination of genitals or internal reproductive tissues. And personality types vary across physical spectrums. So whether or not you are assigned male or female at birth can be just as irrelevant as the size of your elbow to who you are inside. But because of my deeply embedded childhood learnings about the differences between two sexes, I had to contemplate it many times. Even though I myself had known I was genderqueer since I was 8 years old, back then called tomboy. It still took repetitions for my brain to really comprehend that they were not just two categories, male, female, of sex, and that it didn't infer how somebody wants to be treated. Moral of the story: don't make assumptions based on how you perceive someone's gender or sex, and don't make assumptions based on how you perceive someone's ability or disability. It's the same truth. Our external bodies do not reveal our inner life experiences, thoughts, or feelings. And two people with the same disability can be affected in very different ways. And people with disabilities aren't automatically slower, mentally or physically, and they aren't automatically wiser just for having lived with one. Got it? Yes. Good. Except only my upper brain has got it. My lower brain stores very old, bigoted teachings and memories. This subconscious brain is less influenced by all the learning. It is still cursed. You see, the subconscious part of my brain is ingrained with how our society puts labels on people and puts them into hierarchy, and still erroneously thinks that people with some attributes deserve more respect than others. Even when we do this work to understand cognitively it's not true, we may still treat people unfairly, acting out microaggressions due to implicit bias. What's implicit bias? It is unconscious prejudice against people of a particular ethnicity, gender, or social group that influences our actions and perceptions. It occurs automatically and unintentionally and affects our decisions and behaviors. So you see, bias is built on top of how our brains naturally work. Our brainstem was programmed to make snap judgments to protect us in the wild. Is that animal dangerous? But then on top of this ancient brain neurology, we get programmed by society's biases that have nothing to do with safety and everything to do with domination and greed. So we don't need to shame ourselves just for having bias. However, we can sift out what's been implanted into us. It's imperative for our liberation, for the healing of the world, and for a fuller knowing of divine love. So we watch our thoughts and we catch them, we ask, hey, is that really true? And where did that thought come from? And when we observe these automatic thoughts come up, we choose to change them and we treat each other better. And what does this have to do with our beliefs about the divine? If we believe the divine spirit lives in everyone, then our implicit biases towards certain people also affect how divine we subconsciously think each person is. We may consciously believe that all people, able-bodied or disabled, are equally loved by God or equally capable of being filled with the Spirit. But then, when we're in a default brain mode because we're tired or stressed or distracted, our biases come up. And when we're not careful to notice our automatic thoughts and stop them, they come out. We see somebody in front of us different in some way and have an automatic subconscious thought that they're somehow less than us. If they have a problem, then they should fix it, or they should know what to do like we know what to do. These thoughts happen subtly and quickly. Implicit bias was meant for ancient protection, but now it impairs us by preventing us from recognizing the divinity right in front of us. So in this way, we are all impaired. We are all disabled from observing clearly with an open mind. And we're all limited in our activity when we cannot understand the amazing truths right in front of us. But we're not restricted in participating in daily activities if we are privileged by society and the hierarchy of power it creates. It's that hierarchy ladder that religion climbed up, or perhaps constructed, but that's another talk. When our embedded ableism gets in the way of recognizing the divinity in others, we limit them, and we also limit the divine in us. We may be impairing the divine too. I'm not sure. So how do we shift these biases that create unfair judgment and disadvantages and prevent us from fully knowing the divine? Yes, we need to notice what we're thinking and stop those automatic thoughts, but I think there is more. I think that besides thought, we also need to shift the subconscious in our bodies. Because our bodies hold knowledge, memory, and wisdom. Because scientists say we have a gut brain and a heart brain. Because body workers know that muscle memory holds a lot of psychological content. Because those of us who study the body know that involving our bodies in the quest for mind-body healing helps. Could we go back to my personal story for a minute? This is the clincher. In 2014, I was studying for my Master's of Divinity in Berkeley, and one day I learned emotional freedom technique. It's also called tapping. The basic principle of tapping is to send activating and deactivating signals to the brain by stimulating points on the skin that have distinctive electrical properties. These points correspond with acupressure points that in traditional Chinese medicine regulate the flow of the body's energies. I realized that growing up Catholic, I had tapped on these spots, doing the sign of the cross. I was sending signals to my brain through my body about God using only male names, Father, Son, Father, Son. Blessing myself with a sexist bias about whose gender is the holiest. I thought about the number of times I had done the sign of the cross. I had to calculate it. Do you want to know how many times? From age 3 to 18, roughly 6,500 times. 6,500 times I had tapped on my nervous system only male names for God, like the name Father, the same name for the only male priests in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, which broke my heart when I couldn't become a priest. And according to my community, I was less divine. So I decided to try doing the sign of the cross saying, Mother, Daughter, Holy Spirit. You want to try it with me? Yeah. Mother, Daughter, Holy Spirit. You know what happened for me? Joy. So I did it 100 times. And I realized that hierarchy is not just taught to us with ideas. It's taught to our bodies, like somebody sewing a needle and thread through our veins and tissues. Ableism lives in our muscle memory like this. How do we diminish it? By continually noticing what our bodies do. Last year, I went lap swimming, and the lifeguards closed the lap lanes and asked us to swim in the children's area. And the children were swimming all over the place like children do. And so the adults were trying to swim in this habitual rhythm that we enjoy. And I swim around a few children, trying to give them enough space so our legs don't collide underwater. And then I swim by a child who looks different than me. And I realize my body didn't give her the same amount of space. I stopped swimming and asked my legs, why were you so close? You could have kicked her under the water. Did my subconscious mind think she didn't deserve equal space? That she should move out of my way? Are my muscles still pregnant with implicit bias after all this study? Are my muscles impacted by the embedded ableism of my youth? If our childhood brains have mirror neurons that copy our caregivers' actions so that we learn to do as they do, then our bodies are full of motions that contain implicit bias. So I swam 5 more laps, each time retraining my body to give her equal space. And then I added more practices to help retrain my body and my subconscious brain. I decided to worship with an image of a disabled deity. I chose Kwan Seum Bosal, the bodhisattva or awakened being of compassion. I Googled her name, hoping to find an image of her with a cane or some sort of disability, and I couldn't find one. So I asked a Zen master who tried searching, and she couldn't find a single image of her with a bodily impairment. She reflected that it's not in the dominant Korean culture to see strength and beauty in impairment. So I commissioned a brand new art piece. I chanted with it, I bowed to her, and I reflected what thoughts came up for me. This is the painting by Mishea Obiji, and I wonder if you gaze upon it, what thoughts might come up for you. In conclusion, what are 5 things we could do to liberate ourselves from implicit bias of ableism? 1, if you haven't taken the Harvard implicit bias test, I encourage you. Even though I knew mine, I took it and I was surprised by how strong some of them were. 2, consider the spirituality or religion you grew up with in your family of origin. Is there a way that you could practice new thoughts to retrain yourself, even if you no longer believe in that religion? 3, check out the 10 Principles of Disability Justice by Sins Invalid. Some of them are intersectionality, leadership of the most impacted, wholeness, sustainability, interdependence, collective access. 4, do some self-inquiry about how you truly think about your body and other people's bodies, such as the questions on page 112 of Sonia Renee Taylor's book, The Body is Not an Apology. And 5, keep learning how various people with different abilities and disabilities think about God, Spirit, the divine, and about their lived experiences. Because if the divine includes all beings, then shifting our biases will help us more truly honor the great love. That ultimate life force is so much bigger, wider, and deeper than we can possibly conceive. But it is our sacred invitation to try. We're going to shift to the closing song led by Janine. And I hope you'll stay around for some congregational dialogue after the service. We'd all love to hear your thoughts and lived experiences.
Yeah, go ahead and play it. This might be difficult to sing with, but we will try. Yeah. We want to hear him do this.
You're divine, my divine. 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 Where you go, I will go. Beloved, where you go, I will go with me. Where you go, I will go. Beloved, where you go, I will go. I ask my sister, people, my people, your people, my people, your people, my people, your people, my people. For your people are my people, your people are mine, your people are my people, your divine, my divine, your people are my people, your people are mine, your people are my people, you're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go. Children, where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go. Children, where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Your people are my people. Your people are my people. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. My people, you're divine, my people. Where you go, I will go, sister. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, ancestor. Where you go, I will go.
A different closing blessing today. This is by Dr. Leela Watson, a Gangulu woman. Well, she's credited with this quote, but says it was born of a collective process and prefers the words be credited to Aboriginal activist group in Queensland in the 1970s. If you've come to help me, you are wasting my time. Excuse me. If you come to help me, you are wasting your time. If you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will hold until we are in our hearts, until we are together again. Thank you, and please join us in the lobby for coffee and refreshments, and have a great Sunday. Thanks.